Do you have FOMO when it comes to shopping? Do you know what FOMO is? Likely you do. Fear of missing out. And I find that when we shop for clothing, there is often this sense of FOMO. Let's talk about that today. Hello, I'm Kristen from Kristen Cain Style. Welcome. I am so glad that you are here to talk FOMO and shopping with me today. If we haven't met before, I am a style and mindset coach. I help women create wardrobes they love wearing. And what that means is I can help you create a wardrobe you love wearing. I do that in the most simple, easy, effortless, the least complicated, overwhelming, frustrating way I know how. And I use all the tools and tricks that I have learned over the past 20 years of being in closets and fitting rooms to make the process of creating an elevated wardrobe that truly lights you up when you wear it as simple as possible. Style therapy is the way that I work one-on-one with women. There is a link down below with all the details for style therapy if you're curious, as well as a link to book a 1-hour free consultation call with me where we'll hop on a Zoom and I can help you really understand if style therapy will solve the style struggles that you're experiencing right now. My guess is it will. I've yet to meet a style struggle that I can't solve, and help you decide if now is the right time to invest in style therapy. Today I want to talk about FOMO. Specifically how it relates to shopping. So FOMO is this idea it's an acronym for fear of missing out. And it's existed forever. And with the advent of the internet and social media, FOMO is a thing that I think most of us experience on some level or another, probably every single day if we are on Instagram or YouTube, or even just talking to our neighbors and they're headed on a fabulous trip and we're not. There's this sense of we're missing out on something. And it's really probably one of the most difficult things to navigate from a mental health standpoint, really understanding that you're good where you are and that you don't have any need to be experiencing FOMO, that, the grass is not always greener and that things are good, right where you're sitting. And I find that with my clients and with women I talk with, this sense of FOMO comes up often around shopping. So today I want to dive into a little bit and sort of poke around at what is really going on with this sense of fear of missing out and shopping for clothing. Because oftentimes I hear women express their sense of kind of frozen and stuck and resistant to shopping. And I think a lot of it often comes from this fear of missing out. And I'll explain what I mean. And I'm going to kind of talk through what could be done about it. So this sense of FOMO, the way I'm going to speak about it today with regard to shopping, is this idea that you fear buying anything because you're afraid you're going to buy the wrong thing. And specifically that fear of missing out comes up when you continue to shop around. Let's say you're looking for a pair of jeans and it's an exhaustive search for you that never seems to end up in the perfect pair of jeans. You just keep thinking you could find something better. And so you keep seeking and searching and struggling to find the perfect pair of jeans, exhausting all your options and then coming up with more options and exhausting those options. And it really is just this endless search that is never fruitful. You never land on the perfect pair of jeans and you just keep looking. And I think that it comes specifically from a lack mentality, from this idea that I don't have enough money to make a wrong purchase. And I certainly am one of the most frugal people you will ever meet. I am a really, really practical shopper. I do not spend money frivolously. So I get that. And at the same time, how much time are you wasting that, if translated into dollars, what your time is worth? How much money have you wasted searching out this perfect pair and continuing to look for it, if we're talking about jeans, this perfect pair? So this idea that I can only spend the money once, and if I buy the wrong thing, then I've already spent the money and I'm stuck with the thing I don't love and I'll never find the thing that really is the best. I should keep looking. I'm afraid I'm missing out on the thing that could be better, so I'm going to keep looking. I also find that if budget is no option, that women stress about the time, that it's their fear of spending too much time, their fear of not spending enough time. Well, maybe I just settled. Maybe I just picked this thing and I really should have looked further, looked longer, looked harder. And also this idea that the clock is ticking on the season. And so if what you want is a great pair of brown boots and the season continues to move past and you haven't locked in that pair of brown boots, then the time is running out and you're fearful that you are, going to run out of time, so to speak, in that season before it would be too late for the boots. And now it's time to move on to sandals. I really understand this because I have my own brown boot example from many years ago when I spent at least 3 seasons, it could be 5 seasons, waiting and searching and hoping and researching and shopping for the perfect pair of brown boots. Tall brown boots at that point was the thing that was in, and they were what I wanted. And I really, really thought that if I just kept looking, I would find the perfect pair. And season after season would pass, and I did not have any. I did not buy any because I kept looking, I kept searching, I kept thinking I'd find a better deal, or I'd find a better color, or I'd find a better shape or silhouette. And I realized after the fact, when I finally decided on a pair of brown boots and bought them and brought them home and wore them and polished them and wore them and polished them and eventually sold them and, moved them out of my wardrobe when it was time, but I enjoyed them for years and seasons, I realized that at some point we need to actually make the decision and do the finish the cycle of looking, or that FOMO just continues and we spend years and years without the pieces that we really need in our wardrobe. And so I'm not talking about settling. I don't want you to say, well, these boots are good enough, these jeans are good enough. That isn't what I mean. It's a nuanced situation. There's sort of a fine line in there between waiting season after season and continuing to search and never feeling confident enough and never developing the style self-trust to be able to actually say, this is it, this is the pair. Style therapy dives deep into style self-trust. That is really the underlying theme of the entire process and the entire program, is to help you develop the style self-trust you need to be able to shop efficiently and effectively and confidently and buy what actually will support you in your life. And with that all said, I think one of the biggest sticking points or the biggest issues is, do you even know when you'll find the perfect thing? So I realized, again, after the fact with these boots and in the work that I do here with clients, I realized that I didn't really even know what I was looking for. I just kept feeling like the boots that were available were not what I was looking for. I had the bar set unrealistically high, but I didn't really have any criteria to back it up. And so now when I work with clients and this kind of thing comes up, I'm really careful to coach and help them navigate what is really happening and how they would actually ever know if they found the perfect jeans or found the perfect boot. And I use the word perfect loosely. I have talked here a lot about perfectionism. I have lots of perfectionist tendencies that I'm very aware of at this point. And so perfect, I'm just using that word. I don't believe there is a perfect pair of boots. I believe that we decide on the boots that we believe are going to fit our life, in the best way possible. And then they become the perfect boot for us. And so if you haven't identified, as I didn't with the brown boots, what really would make the perfect boots for me right then, and have a list, have a set of criteria that really would let me know when I found them. I didn't have that. So it's sort of like not putting in a destination in your GPS and just driving aimlessly. You don't know if you've made it to where you were headed because you haven't determined where you're headed. And so I really had that same sense after the fact of, I didn't really have a clear sense of what I was looking for. So how was I ever going to pick a pair of brown boots? Because it was so arbitrary and so nebulous and so vague and cloudy in my brain. I just kept assuming that nothing I was finding was right, but what was I comparing that to? So today I'm going to talk about how you can clear this up in your own world, whether it's a bra you're looking for, or a great pair of socks or flip-flops or a dress to wear to your son's wedding. How will you know when you find it? So that you can eliminate that FOMO, because I've found what I'm looking for. I have no fear of missing out on anything in any other store or anything anyone else is wearing, because I know what the criteria is to check this box for me. And so once I get there, I'm not looking to anyone else. And again, this is part of the style self-trust. There's no FOMO because you're not concerned with what someone else is wearing or what another store is selling, because you know what you're after and you know how you'll know when you find it. You've identified and determined what would make it the right thing to purchase now, and therefore the FOMO gets removed. When you find yourself in this idea of fear of missing out and continuing to shop for a piece and possibly buying things along the way, it doesn't mean you haven't purchased any brown boots. Maybe you just keep purchasing brown boots or jeans or great date tops or blazers, because you haven't found the right one yet, but you're buying them as you go. It really doesn't matter whether you're not spending the money or spending the money. If you're not finding the piece that actually is the right piece, there's this sense of fear of missing out, and you keep looking and keep purchasing. So you really want to identify, how will you know when you find the right one? How will you know when you find the one that is your hell yes? And again, this is something that I've talked lots about here. So even if we don't work together inside Style Therapy, you can watch other videos that I have made on how to build style self-trust, because part of that hell yes, part of that looking in the mirror and knowing this piece lights me up, the looking stops here, there is no more searching necessary, this is the piece. Part of that is the style self-trust that gets built over time by making decisions, making choices, taking action, evaluating those decisions and those purchases, and getting better at shopping and at making decisions about what to include in your wardrobe. And even before you've developed the self-trust, you need to take some action to begin developing the self-trust, which I think is where we often get stuck, especially if we have any perfectionism floating around in our personality, because we have this sense that we need to keep waiting until we have it right before we take action. Even in the case of the brown boots, I had to keep waiting until I found the pair that felt like they were the absolute 100% best boot option before I could take any action. So I didn't even try to thrift a pair or borrow a pair or, buy a pair that was a lower price or anything like that. I just kept waiting. Again, waiting without knowing the criteria for when I would find, how I would know when I had found the right pair. So what's your criteria? It could have to do with comfort. It could have to do with fitting in your budget. It could have to do with your lifestyle, have to do with your color palette and what works with your wardrobe. It could have to do with just your authenticity, your sense of authenticity. There could be a great pair of boots in your price range that fit your foot and are really comfortable, that fit your lifestyle essentially, but they don't feel authentic. Like if anyone else saw them on you, they'd say, those are great boots, they look great with that outfit. But when you put them on, they're too Western, or they're too pointy, or they're too round toe, or too high a heel, or too dark a brown, whatever the case is. They can tick a lot of boxes, but if at the end of the day they're not authentic for you, then they're not the right boot. You need to know what those criteria are. And another thing to consider is because we want to be gentle with our brains. I sound like I'm being kind of bossy with my brain right now, or with, the concept of what's happening in our minds when we have this sense of FOMO that makes us keep shopping. And we want to be gentle because, as I've said here many, many times, our brain is only trying to keep us safe and alive, really, at the end of the day. And so it perceives anything, even shopping for brown boots, as something that could be potentially dangerous. And so we want to assure our brain that we understand that we have chosen to keep looking as a safety mechanism, that we don't want to make the wrong choice. And so we keep looking, thinking that that is ultimately going to keep us safer, because we won't make the wrong choice. We won't waste the money. We won't, buy another pair that we're not actually wearing. We won't waste more time going to another mall or ordering more pairs online and then having to return them. Our brain wants to keep us safe, and it believes that this continued searching is keeping us safe, keeping us from making the wrong choice or making a mistake. And so how do you prevent this idea of shopping FOMO? How do you prevent this constant searching and looking, maybe purchasing, maybe not purchasing along the way, but this overall sense of, I haven't found the perfect thing yet? And I hear this so often when I work with women. Either they've settled and they have 15 white t-shirts and they don't love any of them in this search for the white t-shirt that's going to solve all their style struggles, or they have no white t-shirts because they have not been willing to actually purchase any, and then they just keep looking and keep telling the story of, there are no great white t-shirts out there, I just can't find it, I keep looking. This has kind of become a part-time job for me, just searching for this white t-shirt and never finding it, because I keep seeing another influencer share her favorite, and then I research that one, and then a neighbor tells me about their favorite, and then I research that one. And this fear of missing out on the perfect white t-shirt keeps them searching and searching. And I think one of the first things to pay attention to, which is pretty much where I start a lot of these videos, is you have to know your style. You have to know what the perfect white t-shirt is for you. Is it under $50? Is it a t-shirt that you can put in the wash and the dryer and it's not going to shrink? Is it something that is in no way see-through? Is it something that has a certain length arm? You only wear cap sleeves, you only wear a longer sleeve. Is it something that has a really high neck or a really scooped neck? Is it something that's a certain length because your torso and t-shirts sometimes don't get along? I have that situation where t-shirts can often be too short on my longer torso. So what is your style, and specifically, how does your style? Are you a white t-shirt person or a cream t-shirt person? Are you someone who never wants to wear a white t-shirt and your t-shirt of choice is black? Do you know what you're even looking for? Because if all the influencers are showing white t-shirts layered under things and by themselves, and you really are a black t-shirt person or a gray t-shirt person, and you now have decided this sense of FOMO, you must go look for a white t-shirt, you're wasting a lot of time and possibly a lot of money trying to find something that doesn't even go with your style. It's not even authentically who you are. So you start by identifying your style. When you know what your style is and you've identified that sense of authenticity and what really matters to you when you get dressed and how you want to look and feel, then no matter what anybody's showing, what the stores are showing, what the influencers are showing, you can make your own decision confidently. You have the style self-trust to say, oh, those t-shirts look great on them, but I actually don't like white t-shirts. I only like black t-shirts, and I've already found my favorite black t-shirt, so I have no FOMO about that. I don't feel the need to go search for a white or black t-shirt because I've already solved that problem. Knowing your style helps make all of that easier. And then you need to know your inventory. So you've identified your style, and now let's say maybe the season's changing, and you need to identify, do I actually need a new white t-shirt? Again, I'm using this as an example. It can be absolutely anything. It can be a bra, it can be shoes, it can be jeans, it can be a jacket, whatever. Do I actually need a new white t-shirt? All these influencers are showing these great t-shirts. Do I actually need to step into the arena of looking for a new white t-shirt? And to know that, you need to check your inventory. If you have great white t-shirts from last year and they're still looking like great white t-shirts, you can, again, tick that box. You don't even need to go to the possibility of FOMO around looking for a white t-shirt because you have that already handled. If you had great white t-shirts last year and they have shown wear and they have some staining on them and it's time to replace them, then you know from your inventory, okay, I need to find some new white t-shirts. Do I want to buy the same white t-shirts I had last year because they performed really well? And yes, I dripped spaghetti sauce on them or gazpacho or whatever, and now I need to replace them. Or I have the evidence that I bought these t-shirts and they were okay, but I really do want to look for a different t-shirt. Then you can dabble in that sense of, okay, what are the influencers showing? What are the magazine articles showing? What is Pinterest showing? And how far do I want to go in the shopping sphere? And I don't want the FOMO to take over. I don't want to feel like I can't find a new white t-shirt. I just need to go buy a white t-shirt that isn't what I had last year. And I know my criteria. I know I want it to be machine washable and higher around the neck and a certain sleeve length. And you can go do that shopping, not feeling like you're missing out because you are armed with the information of, I know what I have. I know what I like. I know what I wear. I know what my style is. I know what I have. I know what I need. And now I can go shop. And then the next thing would be to really define your criteria. As I mentioned a little bit in the last two, knowing your style and knowing your inventory, before you head out to shop, you really want to get clear on how am I going to know when I find that perfect white t-shirt? How will I know that that's the right t-shirt for me? Is it the price point? Is it the way that it fits? Is it the way that you care for it? Is it the way that the neck, works under all of your sweaters or all of your blazers? How will you know when you find the right t-shirt? Because if you don't know that, then when you go out, it's easier to feel that sense of FOMO and that sense of overwhelm of, oh my goodness, there are hundreds of white t-shirts I could choose from. And if I haven't identified that I do not want to pay more than $35 for one, then I'm going to get lured into thinking that $80 version is what I have to have. That sense of FOMO is going to kick in. Identify what your criteria is. And I think here it's important to remember that, and again, I link perfectionism and style. I think perfectionism has a tendency to show up everywhere, and I definitely know how much it shows up in style because this is the work I do with women. It's important to remember that our perfectionists, even if we're just mildly perfectionistic, that element of our personality can make it seem like it is all or nothing, that we have to have the perfect t-shirt or no t-shirt, that there is no middle ground here, and that when we buy the t-shirt at any price point, whatever the criteria is that we set, when we buy that t-shirt, it needs to be a decision that is the right decision forever. I've invested this time and energy and money into buying the t-shirt, and now that t-shirt better perform for the next 18 seasons because that's what I need. When that isn't really realistic, especially with a white t-shirt. So we need to be understanding of the fact that we're going to need to repeat some of these practices of purchasing, and we get better at it as we do it, but we're going to need to understand that we can buy a great t-shirt this year, and then we're going to evaluate how that worked, and we can either replace it with the same t-shirt next year or whenever it needs replacing, or we're going to start the search again. But it doesn't have to be exhaustive, the search, and it doesn't have to be, we find the perfect t-shirt that's going to serve me for the rest of my life. Bodies change, lifestyles change, circumstances change, budgets change. So we aren't necessarily going to lock in on the perfect thing that's going to last forever. And when we try, when our brain tells us that's what needs to happen, it makes it easy to just decide you're not shopping, because how could you possibly come up with the perfect white t-shirt that's going to last for the rest of your life? That's an unachievable goal. And so we need to recognize, what are my criteria? And this is not all or nothing. This is a white t-shirt. Yes, it's an investment of any, whatever you're buying, there is an investment in time, money, and energy to purchase that thing and bring it home. And we need to wear clothing. And so we might as well be using our resources in the best way possible with the least amount of FOMO to secure the items we need to be able to get dressed with confidence. And the next thing is to practice making decisions. I can't tell you how much making decisions is at the root of style struggles that I hear from women all over the globe, really, at this point. The clients who I work with, the making of decisions is one of the most difficult parts, because we're so afraid of getting it wrong. We have that sense of FOMO that if we do the wrong thing, then that means something bad about us. And so the idea of practicing making decisions, whether it's with buying a pair of socks, whether it's with buying an inexpensive t-shirt, whether it's with thrifting a sweater, whether it's with getting something from a clothing swap that you're not spending any money on, making decisions around what to bring into your wardrobe and what to wear makes it easier to make decisions. Because as you make a decision to bring something in and you wear it, you're collecting data. You now can take that data and decide, okay, I bought that t-shirt and I wore it and I loved it and I would buy it again. That was a win. Or I bought that sweater and it itched and it shrunk and I would never buy that sweater. I learned from that I don't want that fabric, or I don't love that brand, or I can't put it in the dryer, whatever the case is. You're collecting information to be able to make the decision-making process easier moving forward. But often what happens is we're so frozen in the fear of doing it wrong, the fear of missing out on the right choice, that we don't make any decision. And then that decision-making muscle kind of atrophies and gets weaker. And then when we go to make a decision, we have so much doubt and we lack the self-trust to be able to make the decision and then evaluate after we've made the decision and lived with the piece for a while, how that decision worked. Because it's only by doing that repeatedly that it gets easier to make decisions. And again, we often think that if we just wait, and then when we absolutely have no choice but to make the decision, we'll make the best decision, or we'll just make a decision and we'll have had no choice because we were backed against the wall and the time was up. It's much better to be making small decisions and evaluating them and learning from them, so that when it's time to invest in a winter coat or a great pair of boots or something that's a higher ticket, higher possibly search, takes longer to search for, we're more prepared. We are much more confident in our decision making. And then the other thing with the idea of decision making in mind is to look for places where, and this is one of those tricks, when I learned it and really grasped it, it's been so helpful for me. Look for places in your life where you do make good shopping decisions. Are you a really great grocery shopper? Are you someone who makes really great decisions about what plants to put in your garden or what plants to put in your front yard? Where do you already make really great shopping decisions? Do you buy really great office supplies or really great home furnishings, and you don't ever second guess your decisions there because the pieces you buy or the things that you buy to make dinner with or to make your breakfast from are really just exactly the perfect choice? And look to how that feels and what thoughts and feelings you have about shopping for groceries or for plants or for home decor, and allow those same thoughts and feelings to kind of filter and overlay your shopping decisions. Why do you feel confident shopping for groceries? Why do you feel confident shopping for home decor or office supplies? What is making that easier? Is it that they're lower ticket items? Is it that you went to interior design school, so you're really confident there, but personal style feels much more difficult? What tools and practices and evidence of where you are a good shopper and shopping feels easier for you and you have no sense of FOMO, you're really confident in your choices? What can you borrow from those areas to put on your clothing shopping situation? And I often hear from women that they can't find anything, that, when we kind of do the initial assessment, when they decide to work with me, one of the things that comes up often is that there is no good shopping near their home. They don't know what to buy. They wish someone could just tell them what to buy, that they're not sure if it looks good on their body, that they go into a store and they're completely overwhelmed. The idea of shopping is really difficult, and they are happy to share all the reasons and all the evidence and all the story about shopping and why it is so hard and how that is a huge part of why they don't have great style. And I've mentioned this in other videos. Telling the same story of the struggle perpetuates the struggle, because your brain just stays in that groove of, yeah, this is so hard. And we don't ever get the chance to let our brain solve the problem. And I've talked a lot about bridge thoughts and ladder thoughts, where if what you think is that shopping is terrible and miserable and you can't find anything you're looking for, and where you want to be is I'm the world's best shopper, that's going to be a big jump, and your brain's going to say, well, you're not the world's best shopper, you're the world's worst shopper. So you want a thought that will get you, it'll bridge that space. And usually those thoughts are just as simple as adding something like, it is possible that I can learn to be a great shopper. I'm considering the possibility that shopping could be fun, or that I could actually find what I need with limited effort and not wasting money and not wasting time and energy. It is possible. I am considering women like me, they find it easy to shop. Those thoughts are easier for your brain to begin to believe, and they lead you to the place of being a great shopper, because your brain wants to solve problems. That's really fundamentally part of its design, is that it wants to solve problems. And if you are only giving it the same loop, shopping's terrible, I can't ever find anything I want, there are no good stores around me, nothing fits, everything's too expensive. If the thoughts don't ever change to open up the door of possibility, then your brain's just going to stay right in that loop with you, happily collecting momentum and more evidence of the fact that, of course, you're never going to find anything that you want when you're shopping. So you want to entertain the possibility, okay, brain, come with me on this. It is possible that shopping could be easier than I've been making it. It is possible that I could find a few pieces that I really love on my next shopping trip. Come up with a bridge thought that allows you to kind of move into the realm of, I don't have to have this sense of FOMO. It is possible that I can shop and find exactly what I want and tune all that noise out, make the purchase and enjoy wearing it. Because that's what it's all about. It's not supposed to be a constant searching. It's supposed to be gathering the things you need to look and feel incredible when you get dressed every day and just getting on with your life. And you can explore the idea of gathering some evidence and some data on times when you've made decisions that have ended up being great. And I would do this, you can do this outside of style and your closet and your wardrobe, but I would also, if you want to practice outside, no problem, home decor and office supplies and groceries and all the things I mentioned before. But then I would come into your closet and I would really get clear on, where have I made a decision that actually worked out really well in my closet, in my wardrobe. I bought that great puffer jacket and I wear it all the time and I always feel amazing and warm and chic and whatever in it. I bought those great running shoes and they never gave me blisters, and they all start to look for evidence of the fact that you actually can buy what you need without an exhaustive search. And that after you did that, after you made a choice, it ended up being a really great item in your wardrobe on whatever category, whatever level, so that your brain is starting to gain sort of a sense of enthusiasm and confidence of, we can do this. We can go find the perfect white t-shirt. We can go find the great pair of brown boots. We have evidence of the fact that we have made decisions around shopping, around purchases for our wardrobe before, and they have worked. And yes, we still have evidence of things that haven't, but right now we're only looking for evidence of things that have worked, and let that fuel your search for the white t-shirt. I do know how to do this. I've done it in this and this and this. I do know how to do this. Let's go. And I want to mention one more thing about shopping and purchasing the right item or purchasing the perfect item. Oftentimes, it's easy to see how this works and how our brain and our mindset plays a role in it if we look at the fact that sometimes the pieces that end up being these amazing pieces, it really has nothing to do with the item, and it has everything to do with the circumstance, with the core memory that we created the day that we bought it. Whether it's we met our daughter for lunch and we happened to stroll by a boutique and we bought a great scarf, and that scarf feels like the best purchase ever, but we didn't spend any time on it. We didn't pay attention to any influencers. We didn't necessarily spend a lot of money on it or feel like we were searching for months and seasons for the perfect scarf. The whole experience just lined up beautifully, and we found that scarf on a day that we were really enjoying ourselves and spending time with our daughter or daughter-in-law or friend or whatever. And it was really about the whole experience. I often find for myself and for clients, this happens when they travel. You're on vacation or on, out of your normal circumstance, and you stumble upon a street vendor who has beautiful jewelry, or you buy a pair of shoes while you're away, in Italy or in Spain where leather is just yummy. And it's not that you went to Spain looking and searching and did all this research for finding those shoes. It was just part of the experience. And as a result, that purchase has become one of your favorites, and you trusted yourself. You didn't even speak the language, but you managed to get your size and try them on and buy them. That kind of a circumstance teaches us that it's not about doing all the research. It's not about making sure we follow the right influencers and we exhaust every possibility for the perfect Italian shoes. It's that we recognize that when things feel in alignment and when our energy is supporting us and we're just in a good spot, oftentimes those pieces just appear literally out of thin air, and we didn't even know we were looking for them. I hear that all the time. I wasn't looking for that great blazer when I found it, but the circumstance was right and you weren't stressing about it. So there was no resistance to finding it because you weren't poring over every single website trying to find a blazer that was exactly what you wanted. You were merely just walking down the street after work, feeling the nice warm sun for the first time this year on your face, and walked into a shop where everything was 50% off and you found this perfect blazer. So I want to just really have you understand that there is no FOMO. We create that entirely in our brains, and the idea of that there's something that you could be missing out on is preventing you from allowing those serendipitous moments where you just stumble upon the perfect scarf and snatch it up and love it and wear it for decades. And I want to just touch on kind of the shame, because I find when I'm in closets and we're doing edits that there is a lot of shame and guilt that comes up when we waste time and money and energy purchasing things that don't end up working. Whether they're things that never work, they still have the tags on them, they've never made it out of the closet, they can't be returned, and there's this sunk cost and this money hanging there and this shame for making the wrong choice. Or whether we purchased it and we wore it, but every time we wore it, we knew it wasn't right and we kept wearing it, and there's just this yuck attached to these pieces and this process. And I want to, again, have you be kind to your brain and recognize that nothing's gone wrong. When that story and that shame that you feel stays in place, that's where the stuckness gets created. And that's where you fear buying anything else because you're afraid to make a mistake again. And I just want to offer that I've been a stylist for a very long time, and I still purchase things occasionally that end up not being the right choice for whatever reason. And the difference is that I don't make it mean anything about me. I don't have any drama when that happens. I don't beat myself up about it. If it's something that I purchased that ends up not being as great as I thought, that's okay. I move on from that, and I have enough data and I've collected enough evidence to understand that I don't do that very often anymore. And if I do it, I know how to remedy it. Either I sell the item, I return the item, I try to make the item work, or I donate the item, whatever needs to happen. And it's not that there is this endless budget to be shopping for clothing and making wrong choices, so to speak. I just don't make the choice wrong, and I don't make myself wrong for making a choice that didn't end up working as well as I thought. So I think giving ourselves permission to release the shame around any number of purchases. It can be years of purchases. I work with women whose closets are packed with things that they never wear or never fully utilized and are now ready to get rid of because they're not serving them. We need to let go of that shame because it is only keeping us stuck and only keeping us feeling like there must be a perfect option and we can't take action until we find it. At the end of the day, shopping for clothing should not be a difficult, overwhelming situation for anyone, regardless of size, shape, age, budget, location. We live in a world where we can attain things pretty easily, whether it's resale, whether it's a swap, whether it is online purchases, whether it is having to drive to a major city or go to our local Target or Walmart. There is a way to buy clothing that works for the life that we live right now. And there is often this sense of FOMO around shopping that gets in the way and perpetuates the idea that it's going to be too much work and I need to keep researching because I don't want to make the wrong choice. And that just keeps you with a wardrobe that isn't actually lighting you up every day when it's time to get dressed, that isn't serving the person you are today, the version of you, who you are today and who you want to show up as in the world. If you don't get to a place where shopping for clothing becomes something you feel confident doing, it just makes the whole process of getting dressed feel really self-defeating. And I am not someone I don't put a whole bunch of links I don't do hauls except for thrift hauls. I don't share a whole bunch of links. I don't go on Instagram and promote things that you should buy. I am not an influencer. I'm a teacher. I'm a coach. And I want you to understand that I am not wanting anyone to become a shopaholic or a fashionista and have shopping become their full-time job. I just know that if you can practice the shopping and collect the evidence and teach your brain that shopping is safe and you make good choices, you buy good things, you wear them, you evaluate them. If you buy some that don't work out as well, you know how to remedy that moving forward. That's what you want. You want to feel confident shopping for clothing because then there's no drama. You can just do it and get on with your life. When we have this sense of this is this big, huge task that I can't possibly succeed at, then it just every day you go to get dressed and you think, if I just had a white t-shirt, I'm going to have to research that again, or I'm going to have to go return the ones I already tried, or I have to wear the stained one. It just makes the whole process more complicated. And shopping for clothing does not have to be difficult. It does not have to be something you have been practicing since you were in 8th grade and your mom dropped you off at the mall. It is something you can learn, and you can learn right now. Any budget, any price point, any age, any shape, any size. It is possible to become a really skilled shopper without having to spend a lot of money. It's something I'm really passionate about. I worked retail for over 20 years. I understand the world of retail. I now thrift almost exclusively for my clothing. I understand the thrift world, and I understand the psychology of what happens when we shop for clothing. And if this isn't enough help and you'd like to work one-on-one with me, we cover this in Style Therapy. We build your style self-trust so that shopping is easy. That information is all linked down below. That's all I got for you today. Do you have fear of missing out when you shop? Is shopping a thing for you that you love and do easily and confidently, or is shopping a thing that you really dread and avoid for clothing? Dread and avoid at all costs. Thank you so much for being here. I adore all of your comments. I love this community so much, and I love reading everything that you share, and I do my very best to respond to every single comment. And sometimes some time goes by. Know that I read them pretty much as soon as they come in. I just might not have the dedicated time that day because of clients and other, content work to sit down and respond to everyone. But please know that I read them and I love them, and I so enjoy this community and hearing what's happening with you and your wardrobe at home. That's all I got for you today. I'll be back next Friday with another video. Have a really, really beautiful day.